We here figuring shit out. This is episode 90, right?
We
Nine
rolling them up,
zero.
boy.
Yeah. 10 more. We hit the 100. We gotta do something big for 100. I have no ideas right now, but we gotta do something huge.
I'm gonna ask
Um,
ChatGPT.
yeah, that could work. But you already know what it is. Bunny Flacs here. Check out luciperspective.com. Check out cyberbunny.com. I got things in the works with Cyber Bunny. I'm holding it close for now, but I'm gonna make some announcements pretty soon. We got King
Hey,
Arthur in the building. What's going on, bro?
what up, bro? You know what time it is. Unify and thrive. Don't y'all forget it. Put it on your mantra. Put it on your calendar. Put it on your planner. You know what I'm talking about? That's what we're about. Unify and thriving. 2020 Faces made an impact this weekend, man. I was out there at the fair for 10 days. I made some money. Got some feedback. Had a good old time. You know, that instant gratification is what it's about. You feel me?
Oh,
Yeah, so, yeah, break it in, Frank. How you feeling? What's
you
up?
might gotta move closer to the camera though. Like you look
I
man
can do that.
small. Yeah, your head look man teeny.
It's already a little pause.
Nah, you straight. And then we got a great guest for y'all today. We got Cairo Marsh. He's
Right.
a he's the owner of a marketing agency called Relative, but without the E, right? And I said it right.
Sure.
Relative.com without the E. This dude, he's from New York, fellow Bronx native, you know what I'm saying? But he's moved to Tokyo, and I think he's back now temporarily in New York, but he lives in Tokyo and he's doing crazy things out there. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Our very first question we ask every all of our guests is what was your figuring shit out moment? This could be any time in your life where you had an epiphany, the sky
Right.
opened up, sunshine came down, and your life changed for the better. You have something for us?
Yeah. So one, thank you for having me on. I appreciate both of y'all letting me be
Appreciate
on
you.
the
Yeah.
platform. Thank you for that. What was
Absolutely.
I think I had two, man. I had two, and they're kind of the same, right? One is right when I moved to Tokyo, probably like 15 years ago, and one is when I started my own company.
Mhm.
The reason why I say that is that these living international, like growing up in the Bronx, like, I was one of these dudes. Like I grew up in the Bronx. I never left the Bronx until I was like 26. Like first time I took a plane trip and then never left the
Dang.
country till I was like 36. But that was always an ambition, right?
Hmm.
Always wanted to do something. And like when I moved to Tokyo, I went out there without a job. It was a bit of a risk, but it's one of those gut check moments where you go, yo, am I really gonna do the shit that I keep talking about? Or am I
Right.
just gonna keep talking about it and having the courage to pursue that dream? So that was one moment where I did that. But starting my company was kind of the same thing because, from the time when I was a little kid, me and my older sister used to always talk about when we get older, we're gonna start this business, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
And then, years go past, you work for different places, da 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 da. And there's that moment where you go, like, for real, am I about this? Or am I just talking? And
Right.
so
That's right.
and so when I made that call, that's where I felt like those two moments are things that I really think were me living my life the way that I wanted to, which is really about, to me, what figuring shit out's all about, knowing what
Facts.
you're really trying to do.
Facts. No, that's ill. That's dope.
So,
So go ahead, Key.
all right, when that moment came up, though, when you was talking to yourself, when you asked yourself, "Am I about this? Am I gonna do it?" What
Yeah.
was that feeling like? Like, take us through like what that feeling was like when you were saying, "Yeah, I'm about that shit," or "No, I ain't," or what was that like?
Yeah. Like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know about y'all or your viewers, but like, I think we've all been there. And honestly, for me, a lot of it's a bit fear, right?
Mm.
It's one thing to say like, yo, I want to do this, I want to do this. Do I really want to fail at that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm.
Mhm.
do I really want to be that person who washes out and people like, yeah, I knew you couldn't do it, whatever. And so there's
Mm. Yeah.
that little, you're talking to yourself and you're talking to yourself a little bit about what you fear, I think, But I think for me, the reason why that was motivating is that when you're afraid, that's how you know you're really about to do something. Do you know what I mean? And like, and that feeling where you really feel like, yo, I don't know. Like when I was packing up my apartment, and for a while after I moved from the Bronx, I lived in Brooklyn for like 10 years, and then I was packing up my spot in Brooklyn. Like, yo, am I really gonna do this? I was afraid, but that's how
Mhm.
you know you was really alive. Do you know what I mean? Same
Right.
thing with the company thing. I could have done something else, got a job, whatever. When I decided to do that, it was like this real full moment of fear, and it's like confronting your fear, me confronting my own fears to myself to say,
Right.
this fear means something. It's not like it's not real, but
Right.
man, are you for real or are you not? And that fear becomes a motivator versus a detractor. It's how it felt to me.
Right. So why Tokyo? Of all the places in the world, all
Yeah,
the
that's a good
countries,
one.
you got Tokyo on your radar. Was it something special about Tokyo? Were you inspired by something? Did you like spin a globe and like put your finger on it and just go to the first place you pick?
Yeah. Well, I think so. I'll tell you this long story as quick as I can. So I had spent like a couple of years before I moved to Tokyo. I had spent like 3 months down in Peru, right?
Mm,
Like that was my first time really being outside of the US for an extended period of time versus like a short vacation.
mm,
I was down there, like honestly, I loved it. Like I'm like, yo, I could just stay down here. Like I don't really necessarily need to go back to the US. And that really
wow.
made me think that. And then, for personal reasons, I needed to come back and a bunch of different things happened that sort of kept me in New York after that. But then, I was at a crossroads in my career in in New York, and I'm like, I want to grow and I want to do something. I'm not going to grow right now career wise, but maybe I can grow personal. And so
Mm,
part of it was like, well, where could I go that would give me a career opportunity? Like I do marketing, I've done marketing my whole career. Where would challenge me? And I had like different, I looked at it sort of objectively. I could do Latin America, which I was very interested in, coming from the Bronx, like
hmm
very familiar with Spanish and Spanish culture a little bit. Like I'm like, I really like Latin America. But the markets are usually smaller markets,
Right.
but except for maybe Mexico and except for Brazil. But Brazil, they don't speak Spanish anyhow, so that's just a whole different animal.
Right.
God, that's not gonna work. And I thought about Asia, I thought about China, and I thought about Japan, and those sort of resonated with me. Europe to me felt too familiar, like it felt like
hmm
it's
English
West,
speakers. Yeah.
yeah, it's Western society X, Y, and Z. So when I thought about markets I can actually grow my career, it was like China or Japan. Now I had been out to Japan 3 years earlier for a friend's wedding, and so I had some people out there. So I'm like, that makes sense because I got some people out there.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
And that's huge too. So you had something to fall back on, and they probably showed you around, and you was able to acclimate easier than going straight.
Yeah, it's funny because they weren't actually in Tokyo. Like I
hmm
had one friend in Osaka and one friend up north. But either way, at least having someone I could reach out to, like, yo, how does this bank system work out? Or boom, 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 what do I have to do here? And give me some guidance. That was helpful, right? And going back to the question about the conversation I was having with myself, I had looked at it like I had taken a year off from work right before I made that move, actually, because I was frustrated with my career and I was stuck in a little plateau. And so, but I had some money saved up and I didn't work for almost a year. And then I'm like, look, I'm going to have to go find another job so I could find it here in New York. I could go find something overseas.
hmm
Now, like I got 6 more months of money, that I know I have in savings. All right, worst case scenario, if I fail, well, at least I got 6 months in Tokyo. I got a chance to do
Right.
the worst case scenario. I come back in 6 months and find a job here.
Word.
Right.
Oh, that's huge.
They say I think it's a quote rap lyric. It was like if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Yeah.
Right. If it don't scare you, it ain't big enough. So like how scary was it to just to go to Tokyo to live? Like I'm sure you didn't speak, Japanese, right? I'm
Never.
sure you didn't know much of the culture, right? And
No.
and if you're like us, I know the propaganda of how they portray, African Americans everywhere around the world. You were gonna probably afraid that they think you some thug killer or some gang member or something, right?
Yeah. Well, let me say a couple things. I got something I really want to say about that. But first, in terms of how scared I was definitely scared in the sense that again, I don't know how it's going to work out. And like, I think I was okay to fail. I decided to like, look, if I can't find something in 6 months, I come back. But because I was okay to fail doesn't mean I wanted to fail, right?
Right.
I
Right.
Absolutely.
didn't want to fail. So I felt a lot of pressure. I got to find something. I got to make something happen. But I was also willing to like, look, I don't care what I got to do. If I can't get a job in marketing, well, if I got to teach English for a little bit, I'll do that, X, Y, and Z. So I was mentally prepared to do a couple of different things to make that work. So even though I was afraid that I was up for the challenge, it was stressful because I literally had 6 months of money. I
Right.
found a job month five and a half. Like for real.
Dang.
Boy.
Oh, on the
I'm looking
edge.
at it like I don't know if we're gonna make it. And it just came through in time, right? So just came through in time, which was fortunate. But the other part culturally, though, the thing I say about Japan that a lot of people don't understand is that honestly, and you could ask most black people I know in Tokyo will tell you the same thing. It's easier to be black in Tokyo than it is in America. You know, it's much
Right.
easier, much easier. Like cops don't pull guns on you. You know, I've been stopped by the police a couple times in Japan. They come up real polite, like, "Excuse me, sir. I just need to ask you this." Like, and it's like real respectful. No one's got their
Right.
hand in their
Right.
guns.
De-escalating energy, not escalating energy.
Yeah, keep it moving, no problem. I think, I don't think Japan, of course, everywhere in the world is influenced by American and Western racial ideas. So I'm not going to say that doesn't exist. But Japan doesn't have that same deep-suited sort of racism. They've got more of a tribalism, like, yo, we don't know you kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, we don't know you kind of thing. After a while, they get to know you. It's like, okay, yeah,
Dope.
But you don't have that deep-seated sort of issue. So honestly, it's for me, it's a lot. It's weird. I don't know the best way to say it, but I think that there is a different level of racial pressure that you don't feel in Japan that I think is healthier
Dope.
to a certain
Right.
degree than you do in the US.
No, that's dope. So let's talk about his job. So 5.5 months, you down to the wire, your back's against the wall. That's not when you started your firm, right? You got a job at
I got
another
a
firm
job.
in Tokyo?
Yeah, I got a job working for an advertising agency out in Tokyo.
And
Um,
so you're only there for 5.5 months. Did you learn enough Japanese to work there, or was it an English speaking firm? You
nah,
know what I'm saying?
so it's interesting. There really are no English speaking firms in Japan. Like
Oh,
everything,
wow.
Wow.
like you got to remember, like, so Japan is 98% Japanese, right? Like, so there's only
Mhm.
2% non-Japanese. So Japanese is definitely the lingua
Main
franca.
language.
But I think that what happens is you have international businesses, right? They're like, think about your multinational corporations, your Coca-Colas, your whatever. They all got outputs and they rotate their global managers in the different spots, right? So depending on the organization, the timing, et cetera, a lot of times you do need people who can work in a global capacity in Japan. Most of the
Mm.
companies may be operating in Japanese, but you need to work in a global capacity. And that's sort of what I kind of lucked into in terms of the role that I got in Japan. The company itself, I was the only person in the company that didn't speak Japanese. There's only one other foreigner when I joined, but the role that I was in was for a new account that they had just won. They needed to connect around the globe. So I was able to fortunately slide into that.
But that's dope. But like, how do you do that interview? Did you have like a translator with you? Like, how do you
Ah,
do they
so,
even
so
have interviews the same way we do here?
yeah, so the CEO of the company spoke English. So
Oh, okay.
so he was good. And the head of HR also spoke English because they dealt with some international clients, right? So
Okay,
you
okay,
have
okay.
multinational. So yeah, no, the interview definitely in English.
I'll be nervous as hell. Like, yo, I don't speak a lick of Japanese. What are we gonna talk about?
Nah,
You know what I'm
and it's
saying?
definitely like particularly in advertising agencies, because again, they're working with the McDonald's, the Coca-Colas, whatever type of companies, and these companies all have a degree of international managers. So
Mhm.
usually within senior leadership, even on the agency side, you'll have like the CEO or certain people will need to speak English so they can deal with.
Bilingual. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Are you looking for a media agency that covers all the creative tasks that make a business successful? Lucid Perspective produces elegant, high-resolution graphics and logos, high definition and 4K video, complete with treatment concepts and innovative editing. Lucid Perspective provides photography services such as fashion, advertisements, product or service, and aerial photography. We also help businesses build their brands from the ground up with complete campaigns that will make your business attractive to your target audience. We can bring your brand to the masses with our effective and strategic marketing campaigns to include sales funnels, eye-catching advertisements, breakthrough digital marketing through social media, and other digital avenues. Visit lucidperspective.com today.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fine.
the other thing I want to ask you real quick is like the conversion, like dollars to what they have out there for
Yeah,
Yeah.
yen. So like, did you go out there and like your money was like crazy? You know what I'm saying? Like you
Long.
were rich out there, or was the
Nah.
conversion like, I'm still struggling? You know what I'm
So,
saying?
so, so let me tell you a nightmare just between me and y'all gonna view, right?
In the world, okay.
Yeah. So when I moved out there, it was about 90 yen to a dollar. So it was almost like the normal traditional ratio. You think in your head like 100 yen equals $1. Da 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 da. It's
Yeah.
easy to think about it. At that time, the dollar was the yen was stronger. So the yen being 90 yen means the yen had more value. So, and it's always been like that. The
Mm.
nightmare I'm telling you about right now is because my company's still based in Japan. I come to the US from time to time to help the family out, but I get paid in yen. Now the yen's 150 to the dollar. So the yen is trash right now compared to the dollar. So I come to the US
Wow.
now, I'm like, oh, now it hurts. Now it hurts.
Yeah, and you got to change it back to dollars
Yeah.
over here.
But
Oh, that's
back
crazy.
Oh man.
back then, like I mean, and I think Japan is generally Tokyo slightly less expensive, I think, than New York is by comparison. Maybe that's because of the yen to the dollar. Maybe that's because they've had low inflation for long periods of time. But it's pretty reasonable. Your money does all right out there.
No, that's dope.
That's what's up.
Let me take a
Yeah.
paycheck to Tokyo and live for like a few months.
Now that's dope to kind of like face them fears, face that uncertainty, go and put your best foot forward, and in the bewitching hour, right? I know you were feeling that pressure, like when I got to go home, or am I going to be teaching English, or am I just going to be doing something? Like it's really cool to see you, finding your way with very minimum help, right? With very minimum resources, right? And just being the best version of yourself and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do this," or "I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this," right? I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win, right?
And you try like so when I went out there, fortunately, because I had a pretty good advertising career here in New York. I had people out here introduce me to whoever they knew out there, right? Because if you worked at a
Mm-hmm.
global business network, so I had some contacts that helped me get some interviews when I got out there, right? And
Okay.
ultimately helped me get this job that I ended up getting. I
Mm.
also had I said, a couple of friends out there who put me on to whatever. I went out there, I started taking Japanese classes just so I have a little network. And you meet up and you just try to build it. But again, I really do think, and I'm fortunate that it didn't work out this way. But I think if it had failed, if a couple of more weeks had gone by and I had to come back, that has still been better than not trying. And I think that's a trade-off.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's a trade-off you got to make, though, right? Like, if it don't go your way, is that better than not trying? And in that case, when I was dealing with, should I do it? Should I not do it on my body? Same thing with my company. It's like not doing it would have been worse than failing at it. You know?
Right.
Absolutely.
Because then you always have those
Absolutely.
questions. You could be on your deathbed, 90, 100 years old, thinking, what if
Yeah,
I
you be
tried? You know what
questioning.
I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't want
This
you don't. And that's exactly what I think you asked me about, figuring shit out. That's exactly what you got to figure out, I think, is like, what type of life do you want? Like if you fail at something, that's just is what it is, right? Timing. There's so many different factors that go into making something successful. Like
Hmm.
mm,
one, I had some people to introduce themselves. Two, timing. 2 weeks later might not have worked out. All these little nuances which you can't control for. And that's fine. But when you look at your life, it's like, am I taking the chances on myself and doing the things I believe in? And that's
Mm.
the thing I think you have to hold yourself to.
No, that's a
absolutely.
bar.
We just talked about it last week, didn't we, Frank?
Hmm.
I was saying that I at one point in life, like I'm not doing any more regrets. Like I didn't have any then, and like I just know for a fact I didn't want any moving forward. I think my catalyst was like I was saying, like me and my dad are literally 30 years apart, and I was
Mm,
like, oh, buddy had the same 25 years I had.
yeah,
Right, I'm 25 and he had the same 25. Am I
yeah.
gonna be, 50 looking like this, or am I gonna just move accordingly now? Right. So you said that was starting your business. So like, what was your thought process like to start your own business, like in a whole other country at that, right? Like it's one thing to go to another country, it's one thing to find another job there, but then there's a whole nother beast, I'm sure, to start your own company there.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Like,
huge.
yeah, I've always, like I said, I always wanted to have my own company since the time I was a little kid. I was fortunate, and I shared this with someone else, is that I think that, my grandfather always had his own companies in the Bronx, right? So he had his own little luncheonette. He had a cleaners over in River Park Tower. So
Oh,
so I always grew up like with that idea that like in my mind that I want to work for myself. Now, I never did it. I tried at one point. I tried to start this little hip hop magazine back in the day. Gave up after 2 issues and whatnot, because
What was the name? I'll look it up.
I'll tell you real quick. You won't find it, man, but I'll tell you real quick.
Okay.
It was supposed. So I'm from the Bronx, so you're from the Bronx, probably as well. Everybody want to be a rapper at one point in their career, right?
Absolutely.
And so I went to all these little hip hop shows and how can I be down back in the day and all these different things. And I was like, look, what if we took all this information about how you can get in the industry and put it as a trade journal, do a trade
Mhm.
journal. So I called it, and it's kind of cheesy, man, but please forgive me. Hip hop rules, like number one, but also hip hop rules, the rules of the hip hop game. Type stuff.
Oh,
That's
that's
kind of
dope.
fire,
It's a
actually.
pun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, play on words. No,
So,
that's
so
dope.
I did that for two issues, and that kind of fell apart. But I always wanted to start this company, right? Start a company. And then I was at a point working for this company in Japan where company wasn't doing so well. I'm skipping a step. At some point in my tenure, I worked for this company for 6 years. I got promoted to run the company. So I was running their little office out in Japan, right? It's an international company, but I was running the Japan office. But the company was kind of struggling a little bit for a variety of different reasons. Mainly our biggest client didn't want to work with us. And there was a lot of just things that you have to compromise on, right?
Mhm.
Because we're a global company, it's like, well, we got to care about the global agenda. This client's a big client, even though they're killing us, we got to keep them happy. And I
Mhm.
didn't want to compromise anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Because you feel like you're doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons, like
Mhm.
for political reasons, for whatever reasons. But we're not making a better company. We're not doing better work. And that was really what was bothering me. And so serendipitously, I had an opportunity. Actually, had two opportunities. One opportunity I turned down, but for clients said, "Look, maybe you should just do your own thing, and we'll rock with you." Um, and so one of those
Ah.
opportunities I kind of turned down. The second opportunity came around, and I'm like, "This could make sense." And me and my company are at odds with the political global agenda, which is fine. And I'm not saying their agenda is wrong. It just wasn't
Mhm.
right for me.
Right.
So or whatever, maybe this makes sense where we negotiate something and keep it all above the board. And I tell this client that, look, maybe I can go out on my own. I tell my bosses that, look, here's what we're going to do. Because they weren't even signed to my old company yet, but they were considering hiring us. But this takes up some different political pressure, and we try to make everyone whole, and was able to pull that off. So I was again, it's the magic of timing, right?
Right.
Like, we had the client opportunity. We had a situation where I was working probably wasn't going to be working very well for everyone else. I had some people who were willing to trust me and follow me to leave that company and join me in starting this up.
Right. Nice.
That
That's fire.
serendipity of opportunity just sort of came together. And I still questioned it, right? I still questioned it. I still question whether I should do it. One of my homeboys out there was like, yo, he was literally like, what the fuck are you questioning, man? Go We'll talk to that
Right.
client, get that shit done, we'll make it happen, right? And when he said that too, that also helped me think like, yeah, what am I thinking about? If it don't
Mhm.
work, it don't work, you know?
No,
So ended up doing it.
no, that's dope. So, you know, you hear a lot when it comes to America, they say America's a capitalist country. Anybody can start from the bottom, make their way up, and become rich and famous or whatever, whatever. And you hear a lot about other countries where those opportunities don't exist. I don't know nothing about Japan. I don't know the type of government that's there. But was there difficulty in starting your own company as a foreigner? Is it one of those countries that, the government is like, what's it called? Socialism or whatever, where
Yeah.
the government runs everything and nobody can own property or own a business? Or what's the climate as far as like the government, the business side of Japan?
So Japan is like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I want to say like Sweden, but maybe not that much. Like it's not a communist type of China type style country,
Right.
but there's a strong social security net, stronger than it is in the US. Like there's universal health care. Like
Dope.
unemployment is low. And there's certain things that the government does, I think, to keep unemployment really low. There's a lot of jobs where you go like, that really a job? Like, what's he doing? No,
Yeah,
like,
y'all gonna work. Yeah, ain't
yeah.
nobody get unemployed, right?
But like the unemployment rate is really low in a certain way. It's not the most efficient economy because of that,
Hmm.
but it is a very safe economy. And there's a lot of worker protections. Like, so you can't fire someone in 2 weeks and be like, get out of here. You really gotta either honor the contract or negotiate with them and make sure everyone feels fair about whatever you're gonna do.
Hmm.
Um, so it's that type of situation. And that in terms of starting a company, I think logistically it's relatively easy, so long as you
Hmm.
have enough cash you can put down, so long as you have whatever visa, the right to do certain things, it's not that hard to set things up.
Okay.
I think the growing the business, because it can be a bit of a conservative market, because people are used to things moving slower, moving in a certain order or pattern. It's not like some dynamic, like, in the US, you hear some guy, I got a bright idea. Next thing you know, he's a billionaire. It's not like
Hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
Japan. It's a slow, progressive sort of way to it. So
Okay.
again, it goes back to what I was saying before about it can be a little tribalist, for lack of a better way to say it. And I don't mean that in terms of culture. I mean that in terms of familiarity. That look,
Right. You gotta know
we
somebody.
don't, if we don't know you, and I don't care if you got a brilliant idea, we don't know you. It's going to take some time for everyone to feel comfortable with what you're trying to sell. So you got to work
Ah,
your way in and earn credibility in a different way. So growing a business, I think in Japan takes time. It takes patience. It takes perseverance. It takes networking. But it's not about there's not a lot of barriers to get in, and I think that, if you show respect for the culture as a foreigner, if you take your time, if you try to do things the right way. I know several international entrepreneurs out in Japan to do very well.
nice. All right. So I want to shift the focus on your company,
Yeah.
Relative. What do you market? Who do you market for? Is there a
Yeah.
particular niche? Do you market for anybody who needs marketing services? Can you market for podcasts? Like, is it just companies in Tokyo? Is it companies in America? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah. So overall, all right, let me give you the philosophy real quick.
Mm,
The idea of relative comes from my experiences and things that I've learned along the way. And the most important lesson, I think, from my career, in my life even, is relationships are the most important thing in the world. Like, because human beings are predicated on how we get down with each other and how we treat each other, right?
hmm.
The reason why we call the company Relative, because it's about relationships. Now, marketing, I think in general, sometimes can be real exploitative. It can be like, yo, I'm gonna just sell you something and just hustle you or whatever, whatever. Because you know what, I
It's
want that.
trending.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Well, like, so I come to the US, right? And I spend time with my mom, and my mom gets a range of junk mail, man. There's all designed to rip her off. It's like,
mm,
oh, this with your car, and then you read the real fine print, like than that. You're like, what is all this exploitation? If you got something
mm.
to sell of value, then let's talk to people like real people. I picked up a telemarketing call my mom got. And I was like, why are you calling? They're like, oh, we want solar panels. Like, she live in an apartment building. She don't need solar. And, I,
Right.
and, I'm like, and I'm like, how'd you get the number? Can you explain to me? And they're like, no, they just hang up on me. Like, this is the type of this is a lot of marketing. A lot of marketing is about gaming people or exploiting people, right?
Right.
So I fundamentally believe that marketing done right should be around creating sort of positive relationships with your consumers. It's not about selling them, it's about serving them, right? It's about
Hmm.
helping them, offering them something of value, and there's a value exchange. So that's the principle that sort of drives what we do. So we work with clients who think, hopefully, in the longer term about not just how do they make money today, they got to make money today, that's business, but how do they also help people today, and how does that help them grow their business in a competitive advantage in the longer term tomorrow? Now we do
Right.
that a range of clients. So we've got some FMCG clients, we've got some beauty clients, we've got some uh, I don't know, agricultural clients, mainly multinational clients, a couple of clients in Japan, but have we have an office in the US that we opened up last year that we're still continuing to grow. We want to expand and try to make that more than just a Japanese business. And we're actually
Right.
almost done. We have one client in Taiwan, so we're almost done opening up an office in Taiwan as well.
Nice. No, that's dope.
Hi, I'm King Arthur, founder of NovelViews Tech, where we prepare children aged 10 to 17 for a future shaped by advanced technology. Our curriculum dives into fields like robotics, nanotechnology, quantum computing, and more. But what really brings learning to life are our bi-monthly, Exploring the Future of Technology, webinars, hosted by industry experts. These webinars aren't just lectures, they're interactive discussions that connect your child to the pulse of the tech world, creating a learning experience that goes beyond the classroom. We offer a money-back guarantee to ensure you're completely satisfied. Equip your child with the skills to not just adapt, but to innovate and lead in the future. Join us at NovelViews Tech and let's build their future today.
So I want to know a little about the marketing strategies, right? So, like you said, some of them other companies are, so I wholeheartedly think in the political realm here, right? It's election season over here, right? So when those politicians or House representatives or whoever's running, when they keep sending mail to the crib, I'm like, there has to be a better way for you to spend your money, dog. Nobody's reading this mess.
Not
like
a single
there has
person.
to, bro. There has. I've seen too much of that stuff flying around the street, like in cartoons, right? Just political junk mail, and they just wasted money on that mess. Like, so what kind of strategy are you kind of employing with your clients and stuff?
Yeah, well, I think what's really interesting, because honestly, I'm enjoying the election season right now. Like
It's funny, man.
I mean, it's super entertaining. It's I don't know what's going to happen, but it's super interesting. But I agree with you, because I think most of these messages you get from politicians or whatever, they just want money from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, boom,
or your attention,
donations.
straight to it. Hit me with $50. What's up, right? What do I get? And there's none of that, right? And so when you talk about what's a marketing strategy, to me, it doesn't matter if you're Kamala Harris or Trump or whatever.
Big T.
Yeah, it's about like what are you going to do for me? And I think better marketing is around this idea of service, right? So I think, how do you, and this is what we try to get our clients to do, to say you need to tell people a story around how you're there for them. They need to be able to understand that story so that it connects. So it's a bit of storytelling, and it's storytelling about service. So if you send me $50, here's the service that you get, and here's why you can believe it. But I have to tell you that in somewhat of a narrative form, where you go, well, here's the problem, here's the challenge, here's how we overcome that challenge. So it all starts to come together. And I think then people can resonate and feel whether that makes sense in their own life. Right? Because if you tell me something that makes sense in my own life, okay, cool, I buy that story, and that is meaningful. Now, to me, the two key pieces of it is, one, honestly, and I think this is where businesses fail and where politicians fail, is you got to mean that story anyway. Like, like you just don't get to tell a story, right? Because people will see right through it. You got to live it. Like, so we talk about a Relativ. We talk about something called brand being, right? So rather than branding, which is how you position your brand, what it looks like, brand being is how does your brand live, right? And that creates an experience that makes that story that you tell true. So whatever it is that the Kamala Harris or anybody else believes in, they have to go, well, what do I really believe in? How do I live that? Then I can make you feel that. And then is it worth it for a donation or not? You know?
Right.
And I don't think that's what they do. I don't think that's what most businesses do. Most businesses are like same thing as these politicians. Like, boom, here you go. Can I get some money?
Right.
For what? Like, tell me, make it real for me. And you got to live it. You got to, like,
and people can tell. I think most people you can feel the vibe, whether you're
Yeah.
looking at literature or an ad or a video, or you're looking at a flyers. Like, you can tell if they're really about their life, or they just trying to sell you.
Yeah.
So I think most people, I mean, 20, 30, 40 years ago, maybe, like, we weren't hip to that. We were consumers. We're still consumers, but I think these days people are smarter where they spend their money, especially with inflation. They ain't got much. But even still, when it comes to marketing and advertising, like, we kind of tend to stick to where we believe in the company, or we believe in the person, or we believe in the story that we're being told, but not necessarily being sold to.
For sure.
I mean,
And I think you're 100% right about that. I also think that how do you say? I think businesses that do this really well tend to be more sustainable. They tend to stand out. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why, and it's a cliche, but that's why Nike's done so well, because
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to convince runners that Nike cares about running. You feel
Fair
it.
enough.
It's
Right.
not the commercial, you know?
Mm-hmm. I saw I'm gonna fuck it up and forget. I saw a meme that said was it McDonald's doesn't sell burgers, they sell happiness,
Yeah.
right? And then iPhones don't sell Apple doesn't sell iPhones. They sell exclusivity or some stupid shit. I can't remember. I hate iPhones.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what I'm getting at is like the emotional part of it. Like, most companies are gonna have a product or a service, right? And those have 3D elements, but like if you could find the emotion behind it, that's how you could connect with the consumer. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the emotion. Like we all are emotional beings, you know what I'm saying? And if you're talking to me, you're trying to sell me something, and you hit me in the emotions, whether it's happiness,
Fair enough.
hunger, whatever it is, I'm more than likely gonna buy. You know what I mean?
Hey, Frank, that's when I like I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm selling my mask, right? And so like, and that's it for me. It's the instant gratification type of game, right? So I don't do that well selling online,
Mm-hmm.
and for a plethora of different reasons, right? But I'm outside, I go where the people are, right? I don't let the people come to me. I go where they are. It's one of my, I guess, selling tactics is when I see a kid smiling at my product, and I'm looking at the parent look at me like, "What are you doing to me?" And I'm looking like, "You see that smile? You can't beat that smile. You see that smile there?" And it's like, this is something they're gonna have for a while, whatever. It's a quality, but they can kind of. I'm a family man, so they can kind of care, understand that I'm like. And another one, I'm like, at least my toys just light up. They don't make noises. Like the parents, they don't like the noise at home with the toys, but it just make lights and it's kind of cool. So yeah,
Tell them
I'm with
it's a quiet toy that shines light, and they like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They love it. And then when the kid get it, the child is ear to ear. The parents happy because the kid is happy, right? So how would you suggest somebody like a business? How do you suggest they go about finding their story within their product?
Well, I think it's really interesting. I think I'm gonna answer that question. It also goes back to what you were saying also about McDonald's, is that one of the things that we talk about connecting with consumers on three different levels, right? So one level is on the product. Like the product's got to do what it got to do. Like a phone's
Right.
calls. It's got to make calls. It's got you don't get to cheat that. It's got to do that well. But then there's the brand piece, which is, why do you do it? How does that resonate? X, Y, and Z that people feel like, okay, I get what you're about, and that means something. But we also talk about the third piece, which is sort of culture, right? Well, what is that product when I use it? What does that place me in culture? So, for example, I think a lot of what Apple sells is a sense of, well, I look like an artist. I look like I'm forward thinking. I look innovative. If I break out, no disrespect to Dell, but if I break out a Dell computer, people are like, oh, you want that? You know what I mean? But
That's
that's
true. That's true. It's yeah.
but I'm buying culture, right? I'm buying culture.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so to answer your question about what sort of story, how do people find that sort of story? I think it starts with those sort of lenses. It says, what do you, against your audience, what do you want to connect with them around the product, around the brand, and where you think you can offer some sort of cultural value? Now, again, it doesn't, it's not all elevated, right? Like everyone's not Apple, but again, McDonald's doesn't sell burgers, they sell happiness. I think that is true, right? That's certainly how they position themselves. But what can you offer that fits in that sort of in those sort of lanes? And then how do you make people believe it, right? So the
Mhm.
story is you have something that you identify in those three circles. The story is, well, how do I connect the dots? What do we do? How do we act as a brand that makes it believable to you? And then I can share that with you. So and again, it's cliche, but I think I don't have a better example top of mind. But when Nike has Nike's run clubs, that's the story, right? This says, well, Nike clears for runners. Well, how do you know? We have these different little clubs of people running around doing different things because
Mhm.
he helps organize that, or helped organize that. That's a real way that story comes to life because I could point at what we actually do that fulfills that sort of promise. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that people need to first agree on those three areas and then figure out how they demonstrate it. Would be
Mhm.
my answer. Does that make sense?
I'm
Yeah.
learning, Brody. I'm trying to take what you're saying because you're the expert, you're the professional. I'm trying to like see how can I incorporate it in my thing because we got a couple different things going on, and me and Frank talk about our story in the podcast kind of often. And the name it gives it off our story a little bit, right? Of figuring shit out, but it was still just kind of like, oh, we're figuring shit out. But now it's like, what are we figuring out? Did we
Yeah,
figure it out? How are we going to figure it out? Right. So,
Right.
yeah.
No,
But
that's dope.
and I think it also comes back to like, why do you do it, right? Because there's a personal reason why. I think when people strip out all the bullshit of what they sell, and you can sell anything, it doesn't matter. But there's a reason why you do it besides the money. Because you had a million different choices of what you could sell, but you decided to land on this for whatever reason.
Mhm.
What is that drives you? Because I think that I truly believe, going back to the idea of brands and the historical context of brands, like brands really used to be someone's name, right? So
Mhm.
and Johnson's the Johnson family. Back in the day, the people had a store and that was Johnson's or whatever. It stood for
Mhm.
something because I knew what Mr. Johnson stood for. I knew whatever. And I think brands mean something, not just from what they offer, but in why they do it and the quality I can expect from that. Because we as human beings, I think, the way people name their cars, we need to see humanness in products. We need
Mhm.
we fight for that for some reason. We interpret that in the things that we own or buy or consume, and brands are a way that gets represented. So I think
Right.
you also need to be very clear on why am I doing this and tell that story, because that story's the human story is the most powerful thing there is.
Right. No, that's a fact. I want to ask you some a question I've been pondering
Mm.
since we've been talking. Um, as far as marketing budgets and spending money on advertising, promotion, whatever. In
Mr. Billboard.
2024. Yeah, I know. I was about to get to that story. I'm gonna ask him that too. In 2024, right? If there was something you could pinpoint and say you should not be doing this in 2024 in the current climate of digital technology, the internet, social media, all that. What is would you say is an outdated piece or portion of a marketing budget? You know what I'm saying? Radio ads, billboards. Like, is there anything that people should not be doing anymore because it's not right for the times?
Yeah, look, honestly, I really do think it comes down to your target market. There's no one,
Mhm.
there's no one answer to that. Personally, like I believe, so one of the other things we do as a company is we try to solve clients' problems.
Mhm.
But the way that you solve this client's problem is not going to be the same way you solve that client's problem. They got two different audiences, they got two different issues, price points, whatever it is.
Right.
I think you've got to look at it. You've got to look at it really against what you're trying to solve. Like, I think in general, yeah, I mean, radio doesn't hit like it used to, neither does TV for that matter. These are facts. But depending on the industry, depending on the product, like we did some radio spots for an airline out in Tokyo because they found they wanted to really hit people who lived in the vicinity of that airport, right?
Mhm.
And they really said this is a targeted market because it's only here. And a very limited buy, the cost of radio was pretty efficient. So
Right.
it wasn't a bad play in that limited sort of opportunity to build brand awareness, particularly for people on their commute. This was like pre-COVID when people were still commuting, right?
Mhm.
So in certain contexts, any media is okay. I don't think anything's wrong. If I were to say the one thing you shouldn't do anymore is stop bullshitting people. Like I think
Yeah, that's
no,
huge. No, that's real. Yeah.
no, but regardless of platform, right? Because people, social media, half the time people are bullshitting on social media, half the time, or like I think genuineness, like you said earlier, people can see through it now. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I think
That's dope.
the more
That's a real
real,
answer. That's a real answer. I was gonna say, I was hoping you say something like, see, I get these mailers, you get these envelopes and there's like 100 coupons in there. And I'm like, who is going through this? Do people actually open that and read all those coupons? And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see so much stuff. To me, it's a waste because I guess I don't consume it, but I guess somebody somewhere, is opening those envelopes and couponing all day.
100%.
It is now 2023, going on 2024. Why don't you have a VPN? Only for a limited time, go to piavpn.com/cyberbunny. You could get 83% off the PIA VPN. What is a VPN? VPN is basically software that's used to hide an end user information such as IP address, location, private data they may be transferring over the internet, identifiable information such as their devices they're using from being spied on, from hackers, governments, internet service providers, Anybody out there who wants to steal your data for their own personal gain. That's basically what a VPN does. If you want to take advantage of this discount, go to piavpn.com/cyberbunny. Go there now. Sign up. Tell them I sent you. Get your software. Get it installed on your laptops, on your mobile phones, on your tablets. Any device that connects to the internet, get it installed on there. Get protected. Go now.
And let me just say this real quick, is that I think direct mail and all of that, I think a lot of people turn off to that, right? Half the time you don't even take it up to your house, right? Let me just drop this off here. But I think the biggest thing that I advise people to do is like, look, if I'm going to interact with you, I'm going to waste your time at the mailbox. I'm going to waste your time online. I'm going to interrupt your TV show or interrupt your music listening or whatever. The thing that you have to think about is what value are you offering that person in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be worth you interrupting my time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with direct mail if you're offering me real value and you've thought through that proposition. This type of consumer likes this. This type of consumer will get value if I can offer them this or share this with them, then it's okay. Half the time we don't, and this is my argument about service versus selling. If I'm offering you real value when I talk to you, you'll be like, all right, let me listen to you because you have something you want to talk to me about. Mm-hmm. If I'm just trying to be like, hey, look at me, and here's a coupon, what'd you do? You know?
Right. No, that's a buff.
So like I said, I go outside, I go where people are, and I see a lot of bad fitters, gutter people, a lot of companies that's selling a bigger product, trying to get in front of people, but they have a lot of salespeople out there who are doing what you said. Hi, here's a coupon. Let me sell you something. Like instead of trying to figure out what their actual needs are, and even like you're saying, building a relationship with people. So I think what you just said there is very beneficial to a lot of those people because they spend it, like Frank said, they spend the money to go out to an event, right? To have people man their booth for an event. And so I get instant gratification. I'm not getting money right now, and I may have a potential customer down the line, right? And I get to smile now. They're out there just trying to get maybe one or two
sales,
not even sales. They're just trying to get leads. They're just trying to get people in the funnel. And I'm looking like I could never do that because it doesn't give me personally, right, the instant gratification. But I'm sure if they were to generate one or two of the 10 leads they got, it'd, dwarf my income for the whole week or whatever, right? But it's like, their salespeople out there are just like, here's a flyer, and they're not really, putting their best foot forward and actually giving the value of what they could provide to the customer.
Yeah. Right? Can I be a little bit crude? I won't be super crude, but just to make an example, right?
No, be controversial.
But like, let's say you out at a club and you're trying to pick up somebody, right? And if you just want to make something happen for the night, the more people you annoy and go up on, the better your odds of winning that night.
Numbers. It's a numbers game.
So I get, because if the KPI is I'm going home with someone tonight, then that's what you're gonna do, right?
All right.
But the thing that I don't think businesses realize, so you can do that same thing in business. But what they don't realize is that all those people you went up to in the bar, you added negativity to their world and a negative perception of you, right? Mm-hmm. Well, for that one, you hit that KPI. You did what you were trying to do, like so handing out flyers or doing whatever you got to do to get one sale. Yeah, you get more sales that way in the short term, but you're also adding a greater sense of negativity and negative perception that doesn't work for you in the longer term. Now, again, depending on how you want to play the game, I think you can still maximize value in the short term, but be able to build for the longer term by not so much selling, not being so much agenda oriented, but serving. You meet people, like you said, what are their needs? Cool. I'm just collecting information, so maybe we can make a better product for you. People will appreciate that. You want to know what we do with this insight you gave me, hit me up later. People would, I want to see if you did something with that. There's a million ways to do it.
Then instead of smashing one joint, you could get all the joints over like several weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all heard it first right here, the Figuring Shxt Out Podcast. You know what I'm talking about? Be nice to everybody. Take everybody in the bar with a rose. You know what I'm talking
about? Just work them over time, slowly. Then you can get them all within like a month or so.
So I knew there was a risk with that analogy, but you get my point, though, right?
We got you.
No, that works.
Yeah. And I definitely want to. I think I'm gonna share this with. So I meet some of the young guys or young girls that's selling for the companies, other companies, and I'm like, they only get a commission. Like, so let's say the company will do a $1,500 or $2,000, $3,000 job, and they'll probably get $50 or $100. I'm like, dog, I can get you $150 for the whole day for 4 hours. Like, I can do better than that. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm trying to poach them a little bit, but also I definitely gonna share this with them, just to make them better salesmen or what do they call lead generators or lead magnets for their company, because this piece of the conversation is kind of for them, I think, and for businesses as a whole.
Yeah, and most companies don't care. Like you said, like they're not trying to bring real value. They're just trying to make a sale. You know what I'm saying? It'll harass you and do a numbers game, harass you or until they get somebody.
I don't know. I think the actual heads of the company probably do care. Some of the guys might care that they are providing an actual service and value, because they probably wouldn't send their people to an event or book these many different marketing type events, right, where thousands and thousands of people are going to be, if they don't think they can add value to whoever they get in the door, right? Yeah. I think just the people that's trying to get them in the door don't have that same sense of value that the owner has, right?
I think both, in my opinion. Like, I think at the end of the day, right, if you're running a company and these, especially one of these big multinational, look, they looking for the bottom line, right? That's what they're looking for. Now, what they need, I don't think they care if you're doing it the right way or the wrong way, so long as the money keeps coming in, right? It's like Paulie Goodfellas, right? Like, fuck you, pay me. Let's keep that money. Right. But it's like, at the end of the day, you have to be able, and this is something that I believe in and what we try to do at my company, is like, look, I don't expect my clients to believe everything I believe. It's okay, right? I need to be able to prove to them with results that you're getting better results. So the proof isn't in a moral philosophy. It isn't in a theoretical argument. It's, at the end of the day, can we drive business this way? And can we drive business in a sustainable way? So one of the things we definitely do at our companies, we try to measure that, right? So if we do it this way, we offer value. Can we look at that, compare, contrast, test? Because at the end of the day, what's going to move a CEO is not, it's going to be value, right? And I truly believe that we're missing out on value by doing things in a way like that person at the bar, where basically you think you won for the night, but you actually annoyed half the people in the world, right? Now, if you create real value and add something to people's lives and add to yourself in the longer term, then let's think about another way of that. And so we actively try to demonstrate that and measure that. And I think when you do, people are like, fine, because it's more money. But I understand that the guys at the top aren't necessarily looking at philosophy; they're looking at results.
Right. No, that's a boss.
So kind of like the guy at the bar, if he goes with all the flowers, he may not win that night, but when he go back to the bar, he'll be more welcome to everybody and probably hit two instead of just the one he was looking for the first time, right?
Could be like that. Or maybe he'll find even better. Maybe he find his wifey and he's done.
You know what I'm talking about?
Hey.
Yeah, playing the game right. Yeah,
I don't know. Find a wife at a bar. I don't know about that one, but
I found mine on Tinder. It's possible they out there, bro.
You never know.
Bars. I don't know about bars. It could be. I don't know. But yeah.
Funny.
Now this is dope. This is a dope conversation. Where can potential clients, where can people find you? Give us your socials if you have them, your website, email, all that stuff.
We're missing the question, Frank.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh. All right, well, let's hold that one in tuck. That's going to be after this one. So our last question we asked is, what is something that you're trying to figure out now? So like we asked you what your figuring shit out moment was. What is something you actively trying to figure out this moment?
Look, I think, how do you say? One, at a very simple way, one of the things we're focused on continuing to grow our business, right? And the reason why we want to grow our business, it's not necessarily about the money or about the success. It's about proof of concept. Like when I tell you we believe in this approach to trying to work in a way that I think is healthier, better for consumers, better for clients. Well, the more that we scale our business, the bigger the platform that we have for that, right? So it's really about scaling and growing our business in that regard. The other thing that we're trying to do, or really trying to figure out, is really how to more dynamically measure the relationship effect is what I'll call it, right? So we have a tool that we call connectivity, which is a quantitative survey plus some analytics that allows us to measure the impact of relationships on our clients' businesses and net results. But we're also looking at doing that more dynamically through looking at what people are saying organically online, looking at product review sites. So to really create a engine around insight, relationship effect. And so it's an ongoing process of refining the approach that we take on that. But it's really what we want to do is really empower our clients, and not even just our clients, empower the market with a way to analyze and measure and understand how they could be better transforming their businesses.
Right. Do you think, go ahead, my fault.
No, I'd say he sound like he need a podcast company to market for, so I'm just
Right. I was gonna say, like you talking about, it sounds like, have you looked at AI in any way to like incorporate metrics, ingesting data and then trying to come out, put out some output for that?
So we use definitely like machine learning algorithms to drive some of the analysis as we measure relationship effect right now. What really is the key is just more data sources, So like the mathematics and the algorithm part aren't the hard part. It's really just getting more dynamic data sources from broader perspectives. So there's obviously the usual suspects on that, but we just really try to continue to scale how we look at and incorporate data to make that more of a dynamic tool.
Right. Now that sounds like a huge feat, but you won't working on it.
Yeah, and I think, I think we're going to get through on that pretty soon, and so I'm excited about that because I think, again, it's really, and I don't mean to sound like a true believer or whatever the word is, but I really do think it'll help us make clearer to the marketplace the actual value of it, right? The value of doing things differently, because I think, the more data we have that drives that, the more impact we can have.
Right. So you hear that all these marketing agencies out there, stop annoying the fuck out of people. Start providing real value because Relativ is coming for y'all. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah.
Everybody out there is just pissing everybody off, and I'm, it is happening. It is what it is.
When we get our money up front, we can have to holler, buddy, because we're gonna need some work.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Let the people know where to find you. Get your socials, your email, your website. You taking in clients. Let them know. They're trying to look for you.
Our website, www.relativ.com. No E, as you said before. On Instagram, we're Relativ Inc. We're on LinkedIn. I don't know what our LinkedIn handle, but if you type in Relativ Agency, it'll show up, I'm sure. Okay. My email, you find me at Cairo, CAIRO .Marsh, MARSH at relativ.com.
No.
I'm about to follow you right now on the IG.
Hell yeah. Now, this is dope conversation, man. We appreciate you coming. I really thought you was going to be in Tokyo. I was like, yo, this dude's halfway across the world. It's going to be daylight over there. It's pretty dope. When you going back? So you still live in Tokyo, or you're just visiting New York right now?
No. I still live in Tokyo. I just come back and forth because, like, as I said, my mom's up in the Bronx, so I try to check in a little bit.
15 years, bro, you got to be fluent in Japanese now, right? You 100% or not?
So you're trying to embarrass me at the end of the podcast, man?
I'm just saying, 15 years is a long time.
Yeah, like, look. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I can survive in Japanese. I can get by, but I go to restaurants, go to the bank.
Order food.
Yeah, order food, no problem. Small talk, maybe okay. But I'm not doing complicated presentations in Japanese. I've sort of plateaued at a certain level. And I think, and that's not actually a good thing, because I think obviously, the better my Japanese is, probably be better for my company and better for everyone. But at the same time, I think most people I know are super fluent in Japanese who didn't come with it. They took a year, 2 years straight study, and it's hard to do when you're working in and out.
Yeah.
So I've never really have either found the time or been able to put in the time, I think, to really.
And I imagine, Japanese sounds like a hard language to learn. Like it's not like Spanish, I'm sure if you learn Spanish, that's easy. Like you can have the translation for English, but their dialect and although they talk backwards, like it's all type of different
Tones.
type of
So,
things. Yeah.
the hardest part, Japanese is very easy to pronounce, and
Hmm.
the grammatical structures aren't that hard. You know, they're not like I think sometimes with like Spanish, even when people, I remember taking Spanish class and go subjunctive, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Like I think some of the conjugation in Spanish would trip me up a little bit more than I think necessarily in Japanese. The hardest part about Japanese is more so, like you said, there's a cultural aspect to it, and there's also the verbs are in a different order, right?
Yeah,
So
it's like backwards.
you finish on the verb like Yoda would in a certain way, like strong
Yeah.
with the force he is how you would say it sort of in Japanese.
Yeah, that'd be
But also
confusing.
there's also a cultural part where you have to speak in hierarchy. So if someone's older than you, use different words. If someone's younger than you, use different words. If you are in certain situations, the words you choose may be different. And there's also because it's a Japanese culture can be less confrontational than Western culture. You don't use like objects as much, like I or you or whatever. So there's a little, you have to read the nuance of it, which is you have to train your mind not just linguistically but also culturally in order to speak
Right.
effectively in Japanese.
Right. Yeah,
That's fire.
that sounds super hard. But yeah, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for
Yeah,
Gotta
joining
no,
watch
us.
this
thank
again.
you guys.
All
Thank you
right,
very much.
man.
All right, be good.
All right, you too. Have a good night.